Made in America again. Hi guys, welcome to another podcast. This has been an interesting one. I'm going to do another post about New Year's resolutions and all that jazz, like I do every year. But before I get into this post, just going to give a little disclaimer. There's been some changes happening in my life. And you might see some of that reflected on this website a little bit. So just, same person, same thing going on. Just keeping you informed on some of the things happening. And the main thing, and that's the purpose of this blog post, is Made in America again. I think it's so interesting, that whole concept, because, gosh, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I posted a video about why you should buy things for the lowest cost, regardless of, and give no respect to where it comes from. And that had been way before a pandemic. And I still fervently believe that your personal bank account should take precedence over your neighbor's bank account. And you should look in the best interest of your family over your community, because your family can serve the community. It's kind of like when you're in an airplane, you got to put your mask on before you can put the person's mask on next to you. And that's still very much my philosophy with I'd say nationalism or American pride. But there is another thing, and maybe this is kind of a different taste that's entered my palate since learning about our supply chain through this pandemic. And that is, there is a national defense threat by not having a skill set. There is a national defense threat by not making things here. And it's a fascinating thing, because I live in the Midwest, and this state that I live in, Indiana, very much still builds things. But it's not like on the level it used to be 20 years ago. And I can give you an example. There's a lumber yard that I drive past, and I remember when I first moved to Indiana 20-something years ago, this lumber yard had just handfuls of people swinging a hammer every day, all temperatures, building lumber for homes and God knows wherever else. I mean, they were cutting things, they were building frames for the prefabricated homes. Now when I go by the same lumber yard, there's a few fork trucks moving stuff around, but there's nowhere near the amount of people. And I think there used to be a bus that would bus workers in to do this work as well. That bus doesn't exist anymore. So it's like the lumber yard still exists, but it is such a small capacity versus what it used to be. And I think that's indicative of a larger picture of where things we get, things we purchase, just aren't made here anymore, or bits and pieces of stuff aren't made here. And why not? And I think this pandemic has definitely made me think about it. And maybe my thinking a few years ago was a little short-sighted, or could have been a little short-sighted, or maybe needs more nuance. And I think that while it's important to boost your bank account and make sure you're financially self-reliant, which has to happen, through low prices, you also have to ensure that your living situation is sustainable. So if you get all your medicine and your groceries from foreign routes, they have authority over you. That's the problem, and that's a real problem that the pandemic has made me realize. And I think as Americans, we really need to think about what's wrong with paying a little bit extra for boots? What's wrong with paying a little bit extra for things if they're made here? And I can tell you exactly what's wrong with it. You don't have the funds. We don't have the funds for it. So we have this predicament because, we want things that are made in America, but we also aren't in the situation to pay extra for it. And that's the real predicament that we're in. So what's the point of this this blog post is, in the coming months, my writing is going to decrease because my production is going to increase. My production of what I do. I had established an LLC back in 2018, I think it was. I had that post, The Golden Handcuff Trap, talking about it. And there's been a lot of, in the last 2 years, studying and working on little things here and there, primarily growing my family, but for my business, I haven't been that proactive or that productive, because there's been a lot of things happening in the world, and I'm just like, wow, trying to figure out which is the best angle to attack. And I think one angle that I need to attack is making things here. What are the things that I'm going to make here? There are a few things that I'm going to, I'd say I'm going to make some projects, and I'll share those projects once I have them built. There's no point in talking about them right now because there's going to be so many failures. I might say something that may never come to fruition. But that's kind of what I'm giving you the warning, because I feel like if, as Americans, we have things available, then that, by consequence, reduces scarcity, therefore brings down the value in a good way. Let's just use an example. This is just an example, like cell phones. If cell phones were made in America, not for profit, just made to make a profit, but just made to be here as a defensive strategy to where we don't have to purchase cell phones abroad, that by consequence would bring the value of scarcity down, because all it would take is, once we had those supply chains already established here in the United States, all it would take is another company or a competitor to piggyback off my same supply chain that had already been established by me. And this isn't my idea. Tesla's doing the same thing. They're not operating to make cars. They're operating to revolutionize transportation, whether that be in cars or pods or whatever else. And this is kind of the dream is, hey, let's get the battery power out there. Once we figure out ways of having a supply chain system, and it's the same with SpaceX, then others can benefit from that supply chain system. And they're not doing it for profit. They're in it for the long haul. And the long haul is to have this service or this system, and I would even say community, developed around solving problems. That to me is exciting. So if I were to create Joe's cell phone company in the United States, and our benefit was securing jobs for Americans or decreasing our reliance on foreign products, and I have that supply chain where those raw materials are needed to build my cell phone components, and the software is developed here, the talent's all here, sitting here in Indianapolis, then I have others can piggyback, even competitors can use my same system and just copy it, and they can make a profit from it. And that's kind of what I want to be a part of. I think this next chapter of my life where I'm debt free, my home's paid for, I have a fantastic job, my health is in great shape. Okay, now I'm pretty stable in my situation. I want to project something awesome in the world that I think others can benefit from, and I want to be part of that. So that's kind of what my next chapter is, I think, and I'm going to journal, like I do everything here. I'm going to continue to journal some of the lessons learned, and if I have a product, I will share that here. Maybe I'll share some of the failures, but that's kind of what's going on in the next year and what I'll be looking at for 2021. So guys, let me know if this podcast rant has sparked any ideas, and if there are any initiatives, communities, meetups of Made in America that I'm unaware of, especially here in the Midwest. I'd like to network with other people, not just like little efforts, but like what is in terms of fabrication, raw materials. I'm just curious to see what can we do here and revolutionize things again, because we still have technology. We have this huge continent with all these resources. I'm actually optimistic, very optimistic about what tomorrow brings. All right, that's all. You guys have a good one.